To think there has only ever been 25 number one golfers since records began, Scottie Scheffler may be the one who stands out the most. With many contenders dipping in form, Scottie sort of just found himself in the number one spot, but whilst there he cemented himself and proved he deserved to be where he is. But to figure out how we got here, we need to go all the way back to the beginning. Born in 1996 in Ridgewood, New Jersey, Scott Alexander Scheffler was born into a Christian family. His father, who also shares the same name as him, played golf on the regular occasion. After leaving his clubs around, he would notice that Scottie was taking an interest. To make sure little Scottie wasn't scuffing his own clubs, he decided to buy his son a set of his own. Barely being able to stand by himself, Scottie was now the proud owner of a little plastic set of golf clubs. He would swing those golf clubs around the house constantly and would whack the little plastic ball around the garden till dusk. Scottie began getting pretty good with his new toys. He'd shout over to his mum and dad, telling them he could make the ball go from right to left and left to right, with his mum not really being into the sport. Even she thought this was impressive. Out of curiosity, Scottie's dad bought him some junior clubs just to see if he could produce the same result. Lo and behold, little Scottie did just that, and his dad watched in awe. But just as Scottie's new hobby was getting started, by age 6 the Schefflers were moving to Dallas. But this new hobby didn't go away, and the Schefflers needed to act quickly as Scottie was getting bigger and the garden wasn't getting any longer. His parents quickly began to see the passion in their son's eyes. This was more than a hobby, and they were about to invest hugely in their son's career. The Schefflers borrowed money so they could join the Royal Oaks Country Club in Dallas. Here the family could get together and Scottie had somewhere to practice. It was here that Scottie met swing coach Randy Smith, and from here, the journey began. Now as a kid, Scottie was pretty small and had developed a pretty decent swing. But as soon as puberty hit, he shot up from the roots and grew 14 inches in 2 years. This kind of growth messed around with all the foundations Scottie had set in place, and now his bearings were all wrong. He'd lost all connection with his arms and legs, and he was now just a gangly giant. But with these new limbs that had grown overnight, Scottie began playing a lot more basketball. But this never took his eyes off golf. He always knew he wanted to be a professional golfer. To say Scheffler was a dominant force in junior golf would be an understatement. From 2004 to 2010, he won 60% of his starts on the Northern Texas PGA Junior Tour for a staggering total of 74 victories. At age 14, he made the cut at the 101st Texas Amateur in 2010, despite not possessing the length to reach a handful of the par 4s in 2. After winning the 2011 Legends Junior Match Play Championship, a huge step up and a huge win for young Scheffler, Scottie was called up to the Junior Ryder Cup team and helped the US to victory. The competitions were just getting bigger, and the players he was competing against were getting a lot tougher. But Scheffler just kept on progressing. But for now, he was setting his sights on college. But before he got his head stuck in a load of books, he had one job to complete: the US Junior Amateur. And with that, Scottie Scheffler was going to the University of Texas as the #1 junior amateur. His time with the Longhorns saw him make the match play finals of the NCAA championships 3 times. Along the way he racked up tons of individual awards, such as Freshman of the Year, All-American, Big 12 Scholar Athlete of the Year, and the Ben Hogan Award finalist. While studying, he also qualified for the 2016 US Open, but didn't manage to make the cut. But fast forward 1 year later, he'd qualified again. This time only him and Cameron Champ made the cut, and Scottie won low amateur with a score of 1 under par. It was a very special day for Scottie, and he had one of his 3 sisters on the bag to experience it all with him. Scottie was even part of the star-studded Walker Cup team, which included the likes of Colin Morikawa, Will Zalatoris, and Cameron Champ. The US team dominated as predicted, and Scottie helped winning his single match 1-up. Coming to the end of Scheffler's college career, it was now time to turn pro. In 2019, he earned his tour card for the Web.com tour through Q School and was set to continue his amateur domination. He didn't get off to that dream start that he had planned, missing the cut in his first event. But once he got the ball rolling, dominant Scottie was back doing what he's always done. In May, he shot a bogey-free round of 63, 9 under par to force a playoff in the Evans Scholars Invitational. He then birdied the second extra hole to claim his first Web.com Tour victory. In August, he picked up his second victory at the Nationwide Children's Hospital Championship. He shot 4 under par in the final round and beat Brendan Todd and Buell Hostler by 2 shots. This event was part of the Korn Ferry Tour finals. The Web.com Tour was renamed the Korn Ferry Tour in mid-season. It was another year of bullish form for Scheffler. From 20 events played, he finished in the top 10 times, came runner-up twice and won twice. Scottie led both the finals points list and the overall points list to earn a fully exempt PGA Tour card for the 2020 season. He was later named the Korn Ferry Tour Player of the Year. Scottie had done it again. Another year of pure dominance, and he wasn't even in top gear yet. Entering the major league, Scottie had to accept he wasn't the big dog anymore, and winning was going to be few and far between compared to his past. Even though no wins in his first year, to say this was a bad year couldn't be further away from the truth. He played 29 events in his rookie year on tour, making the cut in 24 of them, finishing in the top 25 16 times, 8 of those being in the top 10. His best finish came at the WGC Match Play when finishing runner-up to Billy Horschel. So in his first year on the biggest tour in the world, he'd racked up $4.5 million in prize money and jumped to number 31 in the official World Golf Rankings. Not bad. His incredible efforts that season got him onto the plane to Wisconsin for the 2021 Ryder Cup. The team was favourites and on paper was one of the greatest of all time. He teamed up with Bryson to clutch 1.5 points and then beat world number 1 Jon Rahm in singles on Sunday. His cool demeanour kept him under the radar, and I think that's just how he liked it. Headed into the new year, Scottie was ranked number 12 in the world rankings. He'd been patient with his PGA career so far, but all was about to change. Scheffler was switching gears and really starting to gain confidence. After a runner-up finish weeks prior, he entered the Phoenix Open as confident as ever. He took it down to the wire with Patrick Cantlay and beat him on the third playoff hole for his first PGA Tour victory. But there was no time for celebration. The ball was rolling too fast now, and Scottie had to ride it. After a tied 7th at the Genesis a week before, Scheffler won his second title at the Arnold Palmer Invitational, beating Victor Hovland, Tyrrell Hatton and Billy Horschel by 1 stroke. Struggling to catch his breath, Scottie took some time off before returning at the Players where he finished tied 55th. The week after, he was back at the WGC Match Play and found himself in the final for the second time, this time against Kevin Kisner. Scheffler was not about to let this one slip through his hands again. He turned up that day and knocked Kisner out of the park, beating him 4-3, and with that win becoming the new world number 1 golfer. It had taken Scottie 92 starts to reach number 1. Only Jordan Spieth with 77 events and Tiger Woods with 21 events had done it quicker. It had come at a time when the world top 10 were all going through a dip in form and nobody really challenged him for that number 1 spot. He sort of just fell in it. People were questioning whether he was actually the number 1 golfer in the world, and whether he deserved that title. But Scottie was doing what Scottie has always done, go under the radar and attack when you least expect it. It was 1 week later, Augusta, Georgia. It was the return of the GOAT, and all the media were looking at him. But the favourite was still Rory McIlroy. It seemed with the pressure off of him, he could get the job done. But people still weren't considering Scheffler. Sung Jae Im led after round 1 with Scottie 2 shots back, but after day 2 Scottie led by 5 shots. By day 3 Cameron Smith had closed the gap, but by day 4 nobody made a move apart from Rory McIlroy, who was just too far back to start with. So the king was crowned. Scottie Scheffler was a major champion. He'd won 4 out of his last 6 stars, and became the 5th golfer of all time to win the Masters ranked as number 1. In 2006 Scottie won the under 10 Future Masters tournament and had now won the real thing. If anybody ever had any doubt whether he deserved that number 1 spot, they were definitely eating their words now. I think people just get put off by his swing a little bit, but if you break it down, he's perfect in every position, and frankly, it just works. Now the only question these days, with so many people being good enough to reach that number 1, is how long can he stay there? But that's up to Scottie. He's proven he's the best golfer in the world, and at 25 and a full season still ahead of him, I wouldn't put it past him winning again, and even bagging another major. The future looks bright, very bright for Scheffler, and it's about time we had another dominant force in golf. So why not Scottie Scheffler?